Hello, I'm Margaret from Whimsy North, and today I'm going to show you how to join two pieces of knitting together using the Kitchener stitch. To complete this stitch, you are going to need a tapestry needle and a tail of yarn about 3 times as long as the area you are going to seam or close up. To begin, place the live stitches from both pieces of your knitting that you plan to seam onto 2 separate needles, with the ends facing and the same direction. As you can see here, I've placed both ends of my knitting on 2 needles. Here I'm seaming the ends of my Marcelli headband pattern, so I've put both ends of the live stitches onto 2 needles and twisted the headband to give the twist in front. Next, I'll take my tapestry needle and thread the tail through. Now, the first thing I need to do is the setup round for the Kitchener stitch. Then after that, I do the same repeat over and over again. First, you're going to go into the first stitch on the front needle as if to purl. Pull your yarn tail through, but leave the stitch on the needle. Next, you're going to take your tapestry needle and go through the first stitch on the back needle as if to knit. Pull your yarn through and leave the stitch on the needle. And that is the setup round. Next, I will show you the repeat. Go through the first stitch on the front needle as if to knit and take that stitch off the needle. Pull your yarn tail through. Now going through the next stitch on the front needle, you'll go through that purlwise, pull your tail through, but leave that stitch on the needle. Next, you'll go to the back needle and go purlwise through that first stitch, taking the stitch off the needle, pulling your tail through, then go knitwise, as if to knit, through the second stitch and leave your stitch on the needle. Now I'm going to repeat that again. So you go knitwise, pull the stitch off, purlwise, leave the stitch on. That's for the front. Then in the back, you'll go the opposite. Purlwise, take the stitch off, and then knitwise and leave the stitch on. So each time that you repeat this, you're going from the front needle and you're doing that knitwise, purlwise, and then to the back needle, purlwise, knitwise, so it's opposite. Just taking one stitch off, and now here is a trick that I do once you get the hang of it, where you can, without having to go through each time, you just slip off and go through, knitwise, purlwise, purlwise, knitwise, and that's a faster way to do the Kitchener stitch. So I'll keep showing that to you. Knitwise, purlwise, and through. Then I'll show you what the seam looks like. One trick to note is to make sure that you pull your tail so that your stitches are tight enough that they line up, but not too tight that they bunch up. So you can see here that you can kind of pull it apart a little bit. There might be a little seaming showing. So getting the tension correct in this seaming technique is important. If you, for example, are seaming up some toes of socks or heels of socks and you don't pull the yarn tight enough, you will get some gaps and it'll be looser stitches, which might not look as nice and or feel as nice. So there, now you can see that whole area has been seamed up, and it is a seam that is invisible. So once the headband is stretched out and fully seamed, you won't even be able to notice that those two pieces were ever two different pieces of knitting. So that is the Kitchener stitch. It is a great stitch to use when you want a seamless join. You can find this pattern for free on my blog, and make sure to subscribe for more tutorials.